Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. And today we're going to be taking a look at the world of AI.
Oh, yeah.
And specifically,
Future.
and specifically the company that's really become almost, synonymous with it,
Right?
Nvidia, this company that's more valuable than entire stock markets now.
It's crazy.
It's wild.
Yeah.
But today we're going to try and answer the big question. Can they keep this incredible growth going?
Right.
Or are they about to hit a wall?
That is the question on everyone's mind. I mean, especially given how fast they've risen.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone saw this coming. And to help us unpack it all, we're turning to an insightful article titled The Short Case for Nvidia Stock by Jeffrey Emanuel.
Yes. And what I love about Jeffrey is that he's not just some analyst,
Right.
watching this all from the sidelines. He's a former hedge fund guy
Yeah.
who actually went and became an AI developer.
Exactly.
Talk about, like, getting your hands dirty.
He's got skin in the game.
Yeah,
Literally.
exactly.
So it's interesting to see what his perspective is.
Yeah, having that firsthand experience gives him a unique perspective on the AI boom, both the amazing potential and the very real challenges.
Totally.
So let's set the stage here. We're in the middle of a full-blown AI revolution. I mean, it's transforming industries left and right. I mean, everyone from Microsoft to Google is pouring billions into this.
Trillions, probably, at this point.
Right. And guess who's supplying the crucial hardware that makes all of this AI magic happen?
Nvidia.
Of course, right. They've pretty much carved out a near monopoly in the AI chip market.
They have.
And their profits
Yeah,
are
they're
through the
really-
roof.
It's through the roof.
But here's where things get interesting. Jeffrey argues that NVIDIA's dominance might be built on this assumption that's starting to crumble. This idea that bigger is always better in AI,
Yeah.
The more data you feed these massive models, the better
yes.
they'll perform.
Right. That's just been the assumption.
But what if we're running out of quality data? What if we're hitting this data wall, as they call
Yeah.
it? This is a fascinating point. I mean, this pre-training scaling law is what it's called, has been the driving force behind NVIDIA's growth.
It has been.
But it might not hold true forever.
Yeah, I mean, that's an assumption that people made. And it makes sense because, we always hear about data is the new oil,
Right.
but that oil well might be running dry.
And right on cue,
Exactly.
a new paradigm is emerging. Chain of thought models, or COT for short.
Yeah, these are pretty interesting.
Now, these models are a game changer
They are.
because they don't just process information, they actually think
They think.
step by step.
Yeah, they think, in quotes, obviously.
Mhm.
But yeah, they break it down. They can actually kind of reason through problems step by step.
Okay, hold on. I need a little more on that. That sounds like a huge leap
It is.
from what we've been used to.
It is. But, I mean, think about it this way. I mean, the human brain, we don't just, ingest information in one big blob. We break it down, we analyze it, we make connections, and that's what these COT models are trying to replicate. So they're not just memorizing patterns, they're actually trying to understand the underlying logic, which is really cool when you think about it.
And what are the results of that?
Well, the results are incredible. So these COT models, like OpenAI's got one called O1, and then DeepSeek's got one called R1, they're achieving dramatically higher accuracy than previous models because they can reason through the problems.
So they're smarter, but is there a catch?
There's always a catch, right?
Right.
And the catch here is this increased thinking power comes at a cost.
Okay.
It requires significantly more computing power. We're no longer just feeding data to these models. We're actually teaching them how to think. And that takes some serious processing muscle. I mean, it's like, going from like a bicycle to a rocket ship.
So that plays right into NVIDIA's hands, right?
For now, yes. I mean, their dominance is built on several factors. Their CEDA software platform has become like the industry standard for AI development.
Yeah.
Everyone uses CED. And their optimized drivers and their interconnect technology, which they got through acquiring Mellanox a few years back, that gives them a significant performance edge.
Gotcha.
And this is why they can command such high prices and still have everyone, lining up at their door.
But here's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
Can they hold on to this lead?
Right.
Because some serious challengers are emerging. I mean, companies like Cerebras are building these insane wafer-scale chips. Have you heard about this?
Oh, yeah. These are mind-blowing. I mean, we're talking about chips that are 57 times larger than NVIDIA's flagship H100. It's like, you say, forget connecting multiple chips. Let's just build one giant brain on a single chip. It's insane.
Yeah, and their approach is actually quite clever
Oh, it is?
because it bypasses this whole interconnect problem, which
Yeah,
has been a major bottleneck for traditional chip designs, right?
totally. I mean, connecting chips is one of the biggest challenges
Right.
in, building powerful computers.
Right.
And Cerebras has just said, screw it. We're just going to go big.
Go big or go home.
Yeah, exactly.
Then you have Grok going all in on what they call deterministic compute. Basically, a different way to design chips
Yeah.
that are specifically optimized for AI inference.
Yeah, and they're getting phenomenal results. They're achieving crazy fast inference speeds, which is like super important for running AI applications in real time.
Right, because it's not just about
Like self-driving cars.
training the model.
Yeah, or voice assistants.
Right, you need to be able to use it.
You got to use it.
Okay, so we've got these upstarts taking on NVIDIA's hardware dominance.
Right.
But what about the software side? Jeffrey makes a compelling case that NVIDIA is facing some serious threats there, too.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Open source software frameworks are emerging that could change everything. I mean, we're talking about projects like MLX, Triton, and JAX. And these are creating an abstraction layer that allows AI code to run on a variety of hardware,
Ah.
not just NVIDIA GPUs.
So it's like, what happened with assembly language back in the day.
Yeah.
It used to be like the only way to program computers, and then higher level languages came along.
Yeah.
It made everything much easier.
More accessible.
More accessible.
Right.
So could CU Day go the way of the dodo?
Well, I mean, some people believe that CUDA, as powerful as it is, could go the way of assembly language if these open source frameworks gain enough traction. And that would be a huge shift.
Yeah, that would be huge.
Absolutely.
So wait, there's more.
There's more.
Right.
Right. And this is where things get really interesting.
Okay, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back.
That's good.
So you're about to tell us how things get really interesting on the software side.
Yeah, so there's this tantalizing possibility of using LLMs,
Okay.
these large language models,
Right.
to automatically translate CUDA code.
Okay.
So imagine if you could take any AI program that was written for NVIDIA's GTUs and, with a click of a button, convert it to run on other hardware.
That would be a game changer.
Yep.
I mean, suddenly NVIDIA's software lock-in doesn't seem so absolute anymore.
Right, exactly.
But is that even possible?
I mean, it's definitely within the realm of possibility.
Oh, okay.
I mean, LLMs are proving to be incredibly versatile.
Yeah.
And this type of code translation is something they could potentially excel at. It's like the perfect problem for them.
I can see why Jeffrey calls this a short case for Nvidia stock. I mean, if their software moat starts to erode, then that really changes everything.
It does.
But hold on, we haven't even talked about the biggest bombshell yet, DeepSeek.
Oh, DeepSeek.
This little Chinese startup that seems to have come out of nowhere
Yeah.
with these models that are rivaling OpenAI and Anthropic, but at a fraction of the cost.
Right. Yeah, they're doing some really innovative stuff.
Okay, break it down for me. What are they doing differently?
So, one of the things is they've mastered this art of mixed precision training.
Mixed precision training.
Yeah, so imagine you're navigating a city, right?
Yeah.
You could use this highly detailed map with every street and alleyway.
Okay.
Or you could use a simpler map that just highlights the main roads.
Right, and that simpler map would be a lot easier to carry around and probably faster to read.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what DeepSeek is doing. Instead of using these standard 32-bit numbers, which are like that super detailed map, they're using 8-bit numbers for most of their training. And it saves a ton of memory, and it speeds up the process without sacrificing too much accuracy.
So they're basically getting more bang for their buck.
Exactly.
But that's not all, right?
No, that's just the tip of the iceberg. They've also revolutionized the way these models actually make predictions. So most models will predict one word, or a token, as they call it, at a time. DeepSeek has figured out how to predict multiple tokens simultaneously, which basically almost doubles their inference speed without a major drop in quality.
So it's like they found a shortcut through the system.
Yeah, they found a more efficient way to get to the same result.
Yeah.
And then there's their multi-head latent detention system,
Okay.
or MLA for short. It's a bit technical.
Okay.
But essentially, they figured out how to compress the information that the model needs to store without losing any of the essential details. It's like taking this massive library and creating this super efficient card catalog
Right.
that lets you find exactly what you're looking for.
Instead of storing every single book, they've got this incredibly compact index
Yeah.
that points them to the right information when they need it.
Exactly. And this innovation, it not only saves memory, but can actually improve the quality of the models
Really?
by forcing them to focus on the most relevant information. It's a win-win.
Wow. So it's clear that they're not just throwing more hardware at the problem, like some companies. They're actually rethinking the entire AI training process from the ground up.
They're thinking differently.
Yeah.
And that's reflected in their numbers. I
Yeah.
mean, DeepSeek is achieving this level of efficiency that's basically unheard of in the industry.
Yeah, I remember reading somewhere that their training costs are like 70% lower than what OpenAI spends.
It's crazy.
That's huge.
Right. And it raises this interesting question, like, if DeepSeek can get these amazing results with so much less computing power,
Mm.
what does that say about the rest of the industry's spending habits? Are we all just throwing money at GPUs when we could be doing things a lot more efficiently?
It's like DeepSeek has exposed this massive inefficiency in the system that
Yeah.
we've all just kind of taken for granted.
Totally.
And to top it all off, DeepSeek is doing all of this while making their models open source.
Open source, that's right.
So they're not trying to hoard their technology like some precious secret.
No.
They're putting it out there for anyone to use and learn from.
And that's a pretty bold move.
Yeah, they're saying, hey, if you want to play in this game, here are the rules.
Yeah.
Let's raise the bar together.
Exactly. And it's putting pressure on everyone to step up their game,
Yeah.
especially NVIDIA.
Okay, so we've got hardware rivals nipping at their heels, software alternatives gaining traction, and now DeepSeek is shaking things up with this radical efficiency and their open source approach.
Yeah, it's a wild time to be in the AI space.
It sounds like Nvidia might be in a little bit of trouble here.
I mean, it's definitely a wake-up call for them. I mean, they still hold a significant lead in the market,
Right.
but DeepSeek has shown that maybe their position isn't as invincible as everyone thought.
Yeah. So I guess we'll have to see how NVIDIA responds to all this.
Yeah.
But before we go there, I want to dive a little deeper into DeepSeek's R1 model.
Okay.
You mentioned earlier that it's their answer to OpenAI's chain of thought model, O1, right?
Yeah, so R1 is DeepSeek's version of a chain of thought model,
Okay.
and it's really impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, not only did they manage to, like, replicate this very complex technology, they did it incredibly quickly.
Right.
I mean, OpenAI only unveiled O1, like, a few months ago.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's like they glanced at a blueprint and then built a perfect replica from scratch.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
It speaks volumes about their technical capabilities.
It does. But what really sets DeepSeek apart is their commitment to this open source philosophy.
Yeah, because OpenAI keeps their cards pretty close to their chest.
Oh, yeah, they're very secretive.
Yeah.
Whereas DeepSeek lays everything out on the table,
Right.
sharing their code, their research,
Oh.
their secret sauce even.
It's a totally different philosophy. And it makes you wonder, in the long run, who will benefit more from their approach?
Right. It's a fascinating question. I mean,
Mhm.
OpenAI, they might be ahead in the short term,
Right.
but by being so secretive, they're also kind of limiting their potential impact.
Because if everyone can access and build upon DeepSeek's work,
Yeah.
that could lead to this explosion of innovation in the space.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the power of open source, right?
Right.
It democratizes access to this cutting-edge technology
Right.
and accelerates progress in ways that closed systems just can't match.
Okay, I'm sold. DeepSeek sounds like the real deal.
They're doing some incredible stuff.
But where does this leave NVIDIA? Are they destined to be overtaken by these scrappy startups and open source movements?
Well, I wouldn't count them out just yet. I mean, NVIDIA's still a formidable company. I mean, they've got a ton of resources. They've got a proven track record of innovation.
Right.
But
they're definitely facing their biggest challenges yet.
Absolutely. The competition is heating up,
Hmm.
and NVIDIA is going to need to adapt quickly if they want to maintain their dominance in this, very rapidly evolving landscape.
It feels like we're witnessing a classic David versus Goliath story unfolding in the AI world. You have NVIDIA, this massive established player,
Yeah.
and then you have these nimble startups like DeepSeek coming out of nowhere and just shaking things up.
It's a really exciting time to be following this.
It's exciting.
For sure.
And it really speaks to the incredible pace of innovation that's happening in this space.
Totally.
I mean, what seems like this insurmountable lead today could just vanish overnight.
Yeah, it's happened before.
Right.
It'll happen again.
So this brings us back to our original question.
Yeah.
Can NVIDIA maintain their dominance?
Right.
After diving into Jeffrey's article
Right.
and looking at this competitive landscape, what's your take?
I think it's clear that NVIDIA is facing some, serious headwinds. I mean, this combination of hardware alternatives,
You're right.
the rise of these open source software movements, and the efficiency revolution that's been sparked by DeepSeek. It all points to a much more competitive landscape than, maybe their current valuation suggests.
So the market might be a little overestimating their long-term prospects.
It's possible. Yeah, and, the market, it tends to get ahead of itself,
Sure.
especially when it comes to hot, new technologies.
So what does this all mean for the average person trying to wrap their heads around the AI revolution? Should we be buying Nvidia stock or running for the hills?
I am not giving financial advice.
Of course, of course.
But I think the key takeaway here is that the AI landscape is incredibly dynamic.
Okay.
What seems like a sure bet today could be completely upended tomorrow.
Yeah, it's almost like trying to predict the weather 6 months out. You can look at the trends,
Yep.
but there are just too many variables to say for sure what's going to happen.
Yeah, but one thing is certain, though.
Okay.
The next few years will be crucial for NVIDIA.
Yeah.
They need to innovate, they need to adapt to these new challenges, or they risk being left behind.
And Jeffrey Emanuel's article is a great starting point for anyone who really wants to dive deeper into this topic. He does a fantastic job of explaining all the technical nuances.
He does.
And the potential implications for NVIDIA and for the AI industry as a whole.
Yeah. It's a dense read.
Yeah. I'd encourage you to think about this. What will it take for a company to truly dominate this space in the long run? Will it be raw computing power, software mastery, or this deep understanding of how to make these models truly think?
It's a great question. I mean, the future of AI is full of possibilities.
It is.
And it's going to be fascinating to see how this all unfolds.
Well, until next time.
Yeah.
Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep your minds open to the incredible possibilities of this brave new world of artificial intelligence. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. It feels like we're watching, one of those classic David and Goliath stories play out.
It does, yeah.
You've got NVIDIA, this massive established player,
Right.
and then these smaller, nimble startups like DeepSeek just coming out of nowhere, shaking things up.
Totally.
It's exciting to see.
It really is. And it just goes to show you how fast things are moving.
Yeah.
I mean, what seems like an insurmountable lead one day could be gone the next.
Okay. So this brings us back to our original question. Can NVIDIA maintain their dominance? After looking at Jeffrey's article, taking a look at the competitive landscape, what's your take?
Well, I think it's pretty clear that NVIDIA is facing some strong headwinds right now. You've got hardware alternatives popping up,
right?
Open source software becoming more and more popular, and then the efficiency revolution that DeepSeek has kind of kicked off.
Right.
All of that points to a much more competitive landscape than their current valuation would suggest.
So you're saying the market might be overestimating their long-term prospects?
It's possible, yeah. Markets tend to get ahead of themselves, especially when it comes to new technologies.
Yeah, for sure. So what does this all mean for the average person who's just trying to wrap their head around all this AI stuff? Should we be buying Nvidia stock or running for the hills?
Well, I'm not going to give any financial advice.
Right, of course.
But I think the main takeaway here is that this AI landscape is changing so rapidly. It's really dynamic. What seems like a sure thing today could be completely different tomorrow.
It's almost like, trying to predict the weather 6 months out.
Yeah.
You can look at the trends, but it's so hard to know for sure.
There are too many variables.
Right, too many variables.
One thing is certain, though.
Okay.
The next few years are going to be make or break for NVIDIA.
Yeah.
They're going to have to innovate, they're going to have to adapt,
right,
or they'll get left behind.
Jeffrey's article, by the way, is a great starting point for anyone who wants to go deeper into this.
It is.
He does a fantastic job explaining the technical details and laying out what it could mean for NVIDIA.
And for the industry as a whole.
Yeah, for the industry as a whole. It's a dense read, I'll admit.
And it's a little dense, yeah.
But it's worth it if you really want to understand what's going on.
Totally worth it.
So as you all are thinking about the future of AI, I want to leave you with this question. What will it take for a company to truly dominate this space in the long run? Will it be raw computing power, software mastery, or a deep understanding of how to make these models really think?
That's a really great question.
It's a big one.
Yeah. The future of AI is wide open.
It is.
So many possibilities.
Yeah.
And it's going to be exciting to see where things go.
Well, until next time, everybody, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep your minds open to the incredible possibilities of AI. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.